Hi, I'm Professor Hitch, and today I want to talk briefly about block quote formatting. A very frequent question that I get from students when they're looking at their feedback is what is block quoting? How do you format that? How do I know when I need block quote formatting? And so I'd like to kind of illustrate the process using what you see in front of you. This is actually an essay that I wrote while I was in graduate school. Um, so without any further ado, let's get started. If you take your attention to the middle of the page, you will see that I have an integrated quote, right? So I have some text leading up to a quote that starts on line 1, goes to line 2, line 3, line 4. So I have a quote that is about 4 lines long. The first thing to know about block quote formatting is when to do it. A block quote is something that happens when you have a quote that is like about 3 full lines or more. Depending on who you talk to, that number might vary a little bit. It could be 4 full lines or more. Depends. But essentially what you're looking for is a long quote, definitely more than 2 lines, probably still more than 3. This one is a wobbler, but we're going to use it as an example because it is the one I could find. So I've identified a quote that is too long to retain its original formatting. What do I do to give it block quote formatting? The first thing I need to do is separate it from the paragraph. I do that by pressing enter before the quote, pressing enter after the quote. Note, if I am continuing the same paragraph, I should not indent. It is a classic mistake that students make to indent their paragraph. I think probably out of impulse, but again, unless you are starting a new paragraph, you actually do not want to indent. The next thing that you want to do is set it apart from the text of your essay. You do that by highlighting it, right-clicking, paragraph, and you're going to want to indent it 1/2 inch. Starting to look a little different, right? It's starting to look like it's got its own unique formatting. However, there are still a couple more steps to follow. The next one would be getting rid of these quotation marks. You'll notice in doing so that I have an awkward punctuation situation going down here. I'm going to change this comma to a period, and I'm going to leave my in-text citation free floating at the end of my block quote. Next, and this is the final step, I'm going to highlight the entire quote, go to the top of the page. You'll notice up here where my mouse is, there are 3 options, 4 actually. There is align left, center text, align right, and justify. These 4 options control how your text looks. When it's aligned to the left, everything is stuck to the left. When it's centered, notice how it changes, right? It's an equal distance from the left and from the right. When you have it aligned to the right, notice again how it changes. Well, we want justify. Justify is an interesting font alignment. What it does is it changes the amount of space in between each word and punctuation to stretch it out to the end of the page. Notice I have a nice sharp line here. And notice even more than that, that we now have achieved a roughly block-shaped format. There you go. That is how you format block quotes.